What if I told you the housing market was rigged? It is now being confirmed that the previous administration wasn't kicking people out, it was protecting them. And the protection is now possibly gone. What comes next? I'm going to attempt to break it down and make it really, really easy to understand what's been happening with the previous administration, what was found, and how they're going to move forward determines where this housing market's going to go. So you might have not heard about this yet, but the housing market is sitting on a time bomb. And it's all tied to how the government's been handling the FHA loans. A new report just came out and numbers are worse than they were during the 2008 housing crash. But here's the crazy part. They've been covering it all up. If you're a homeowner, a renter, or just thinking about buying, this affects you. So let's get into it. The FHA, Federal Housing Administration, gives loans to people with lower credit scores or little money for a down payment. It's supposed to make homeownership easier. But here's the problem. In 2007, only 35% of FHA borrowers had a high debit income ratio, over 43%. By 2020, that number jumped to 54%. And last year, in 2024, it was at 64%. So people, if you make 10 grand, 64% of it goes to your bills before your mortgage has to be paid. People are carrying a lot more debt than they used to, which makes it really hard to keep affording the house that you have. Here's the kicker. Over 7% of FHA loans from last year have already gone seriously delinquent, 90 days late on payments. That's worse than in the 2008 subprime crisis. We hear all the time, oh, that was subprime, they were giving loans to everybody. They are, they're just not letting you know, but they're doing the same thing to a higher extent now. But here's why you're not seeing foreclosures everywhere. The government stopped them from happening by literally paying mortgage companies not to foreclose. This is what's just being now leaked because Doge and team are getting into the numbers and they're starting to see it for what it really was. How? They created a system where if you miss payments, they add it to your mortgage without interest instead of kicking you out. They pay servers to lower your payment for 3 years, but the extra debt still gets added to your loan. Every time this happens, the mortgage companies make more money. So essentially, you fall behind and say you're $30,000 behind. They're going to put it at the back of the contract with no interest and bring you current to keep you in that home. And then for 3 years, if your mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, they're going to take that $1,000 off, so you only have to pay $2,000 because your income to debt ratio is so high. They know you can't afford the home. They'll take that $1,000 for 3 years. That's $36,000, and they'll put that at the back of your loan, and they'll keep you in your home. And you know what else that does? It eats away at your equity. So if you think you have equity, actually you don't, because now you have all that money. It's like if you used your equity by not paying your rent. Essentially, that's what you're doing. You're using the equity that you thought you had in your home, and it's being eaten up by the mortgage payments that you couldn't afford to make. Basically, it's a loop. Borrowers get deeper and deeper in debt, and banks profit from it. But they can't keep doing this forever. Now Trump is shutting it down. He already is cutting thousands of HUD and FHA jobs, which means fewer people to process loan relief. He froze a bunch of government housing grants and loans, and there are reports that up to 40% of FHA staff could be laid off, which would cripple their ability to manage this huge problem. If that happens, foreclosures will start happening again. And by saying they will start happening again, that means they'll start kicking people out again. This could go one of two ways. This is the best case and worst case scenario. Best case is you get a soft landing. FHA phases out the program slowly, so foreclosures trickle in instead of flooding the market. Housing prices drop 10 to 20%, making it more affordable for new buyers instead of crashing the market. The Fed lowers interest rates and makes home buying easier. If they manage it carefully, we avoid a full-blown crisis and things stabilize. Worst case scenario, it's 2008 all over again, but even worse. The government stops all the bailouts too fast and foreclosures flood the market. House prices crash, especially for FHA and low-income buyers. Mortgage servicers lose money, banks start failing, and we see another recession. Investors buy up foreclosures and turn them into rentals, pushing rents higher for everyone else. If this spirals out of control, this could be the biggest housing correction in the last 15 years. What do you think? The housing market has been artificially popped up, and now we're seeing what happens when the government steps back. If you're a homeowner, stay on top of your payments. Don't assume this is a free ride that will last forever. If you're looking to buy, wait and watch. Prices will come down. And if you're in real estate or finance, pay attention, because this could be the start of something bigger. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think we're heading for another crash, or will they just keep delaying it? Let's talk about it. I'll give you my opinion. I would rather rip that Band-Aid off. I would rather they rip the scab off and we start over. We reset. Let the housing market crash. Bring down the rates, and let's it's a cycle. It happens all the time. That's in a perfect world what I think should happen. But if you've been with me for this long, you know